Hi guys, welcome to Root Stem, and in this video we're going to be painting some more of the Blackstone Fortress bad guys. Alright guys, before we begin, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button if you like what you see. It's always great to have new subscribers and of course to have a great audience to be able to show you my I was going to say amazing videos, but yeah. So in today's vid we're doing this is part 2. Part 1 had the Urgles and the spindle drones. Quite an apt name for the way they attach to the base. And in this video we're going to be looking at the guard. Yes, so you can see the Chaos stuff's not on here. The Chaos Marines, they're here. I'm going to be doing something special with those guys. And compared to the last video as well, I've gone through and put some basing material on, simply because of how I'm wanting to base them. I wasn't happy with how the Urgles and the spindle drones turned out. That's more of a personal preference. You don't have to follow that particular step, but spraying your models in Chaos Black for the rest of this is a good one. So we're going to be concentrating on the guard. So let's get the guard up. There we go, and that will give me 14 guardsmen to paint. Now some people said, oh well, you just need to do this in 2 lots of 7. If you've ever watched this channel before, I think I did 50 odd, was it 52 Gene Steel Occult Neophyte hybrids all at once. Yeah, I think it was. I'll go back through and check my old videos. I don't have access to them while I'm actually painting straight off like this, but I will put a link, hopefully up there, to those particular vids. They are crazy to say, but I'm going to be using some similar techniques on today's videos. Now what I'm wanting to do is to paint these up blood pack, because I will possibly be using these in games of 40k, maybe just as standard cultist members for when I start getting my Iron Warriors army up and running. As of me recording this, 9th edition has been announced as well, so we will see what that brings and whether or not it's going to bring its own. You never know, you might actually get your own Traitor Legions in future. That would be pretty cool if you did. Right, but let's start prepping these models. And like I said, Chaos Black, and then simply let it dry, and on to your next stage. So this stage is airbrush time. I've got Gracia in a pot, and we've put that into this. Now I'm going to concentrate on the cloth. I'm going to concentrate on any robes or any capes or anything else that the warriors have. But that's it. We're just going to be doing a bit of a zenithal highlight. We want to keep it nice and dark for the next stages. We are doing these as blood packs, so it's going to be a heavy amount of red on these figures. So, alright, let's get started. Okay, so now that's done, I'll try and give you a quick have a look there. It's kind of like the colour that we're actually after, that sort of weird zenithal in highlight, but nothing, I don't want to saturate it too much. Now the ones with the furs, I'm going to be doing something different with those later. There's about 4 models of that. But next up, we just need you to get some lead belcher, and what we're going to do is to paint paint these silver areas. Now I'm not talking all the silver areas. People want to paint the guns. No, we need to leave the guns. So basically anything that's armor, so shoulder pads, helmets, armor plate on the chest, any of these particular guards down at the feet, anything that is considered armor, I want you to paint up with lead belcher. Next up, get some Nuln oil, some small basing brush, and I want you to ink all of those armor panels you've just painted silver. Remember, not the weapons, Not the chainmail, just the armour pieces. Leave the chainmail and the weapons alone. We're going to be doing some airbrushing onto this with a single colour, and we need to be able to repaint them later, so there's no point in painting them now. This is all about being fast and quick. Once the ink's dry, which shouldn't take long, we'll be doing 14 figures at a time. Get yourself some Necron compound, just catch some of the areas. Don't dry brush the grey, but just catch some of your silver. You're trying to go on the hands though, because they're going to need to be painted later. And just give that a nice bit of a highlight. So do that for all the figures. Next step, I'm going to be using the Ruby Red Candy ink from Green Stuff World. If you don't have that, you can always use Contrast Blood Angels Red or any other red ink. That will actually do this particular stage. Now, as just to make out and point out, I have put blue tack on the fur. This is just to mask it off. It's not all over the fur, I mean I will be touching that up, but that's basically so that I'm not going to be getting everything over. I'm not going to be getting this red all over the fur. I'm going to be getting it everywhere else though, all over the silver, which we've now highlighted, and all over the flesh, yeah, all over the cloth. So coat your entire model with this ruby red, and it will basically start to transition all of the armor plates and all of the cloth into the red colour that you're after. Next up, I want you to get some Evil Sun Scarlet, and we're just going to put some in his wet palette. I'm going to water it down, and I don't want it to be really thick. I want it to be quite heavy in the water. Well, still that it runs quite nicely above that, so it looks like it's separating on the wet palette. Get your tiny brush, and we are going to edge highlight. So I don't want it to be too. I'm just going to edge highlight the red cloth, not the metal, that you can leave. I just want you to highlight now. You don't have to do this stage if you don't want to. I just like to reinforce what I've done. So after you've edged highlighted, yep, just making sure, you just need to get your model again, and your really thin brush, and we're going to use the same red, use the Evil Sun Scarlet, and we're just going to put some nicks and some scratches into the armor plates. Now there is some already that's supposedly scratched, and on the corners maybe, and we're going to paint that red first. A bit of a dent in the helmet now. Just make sure, don't have to be too thin for this. Like any sort of marks in the armour. Can make your own additional ones as well. Scratches and scrapes and knocks. And then once you've done all those, get some Stormhorse Silver. Try and do this one model at a time. Doesn't take too long. Just go back over your reds, trying to put this in your middle, but kind of stab it a little bit so it's a bit more randomised. And always try and be above the actual red, so sort of facing towards the head of the figure, making it out like the red is like a highlight, as it were, of the chip. You can do it the other way around. If you want to put the chipping in first and then put the red around it, you can. I much prefer to do it with the solid colour and the chip underneath. Some people like to do several colours while doing this. We're only doing, because it's just going to be like a metallic red, so I'm just going to be doing just this bit, even the dint or divot. Like I said, don't do strokes, do it with dots and dashes. Once you've got your chipping and your marks on, should be quite easy to do. There's little bits on that, if you can see. I'm wanting you to go over cloth with some Carroburg Crimson. This is just to darken it off just a little bit more. If you think that it's dark enough for you, don't do this stage, but I've had a look and I think it's a bit too bright on the cloth for what I'm wanting. I'm wanting it a bit more darker, a bit more red or deep crimson. So I'm just putting a layer of Carroburg Crimson over the top, and that should dull it. Not loads, it'll just dull it a little bit to my taste. Okay, next step is Rhinox hide. We're going to put that onto the pouches, and we're going to put that onto any sort of like straps or bracelets, anything that you think looks like an addition. Next, let's get some lead belcher back on these weapons. Try to find a spot on my homemade wet palette to put this lead belcher down. So do all your usual accompaniments over the ends of the guns. Also paint any chainmail and paint any grenades as well in the silver. But remember that on the weapons, for some reason part of the weapons are made out of wood. I didn't really notice that until I got very close, and it's like, yes, they're actually like a wood weapon. So don't worry, I've already got a plan for that. But there is bits of it that's metal. So paint that up silver, and come back to me when you've done. Next up, we're going to be using some Mornfang Brown to paint the wood on the guns. We're also going to use the Mornfang to highlight the belt, but if you're going to highlight, just make sure it's a little bit more watery. Give a bit of water in that, but not while I'm painting the gun at least. So you just basically use a normal strength just to paint the gun. Paint all of that brown. For some reason it's made out of wood. But apparently you can make las weapons out of wood. Hence why they're all over the Imperium. Don't forget to edge highlight things like your belts and any of the extras. Get all them done. So paint a weapon Mornfang, use it as a highlight as well for your leather. So apologies for the noise in the background, it's warm, I'm going to have my windows open. We're going to go for Carrick Stone next, and this is going to be for anything that looks like cloth. This might not be the greatest model to experiment. There we go. So he's got like something that's coming around. You might need to do two thin coats with this particular colour. It is quite thin. He's got something around his neck. So we're just going to coat that in Carrick stone. And then pick your pieces all the way through the rest of the actual models, paint them up, and then move on to the next stage. Right, so next stage. Null oil on the weapon metals, on the weapon metallics, and any metallics on the body, but not grenades. Leave the grenades alone. Yep. Agrax Earthshade. That's going to go on the wood pieces. Surfing Sepia on the cloth pieces. Also Agrax Earthshade put onto the leather pieces. And then Griff Charger Grey, this, if the model has it, goes onto the chainmail. Leave the grenades alone, because the grenades we're going to be doing later. So like that chain, for example, you do as null oil with the rest of the actual eyes and spikes. But then the chainmail, you do a Griff Charger Grey. Right, get cracking. Now while we're waiting for the ink to dry, we've got grenades to do. So there's a grenade here on the flamer guy, there's also a grenade there. And then what we need to do on the grenadier, of course, he's going to have a grenade there, he's got this like a smoke grenade there, he's got a couple of tube grenades, big flask of something which I've actually painted grey myself, and a couple more grenades. So what we're going to do is all the normal grenades, that's on all the figures, we're going to paint with orc flesh contrast. There we go. Then the big smoke grenade, that one there, we're going to paint with Griff Charger Grey. Okay. And then Nasdrag Yellow will be painted on those. Now normally I would have, sorry, I'm not really in shot there. Normally I would have painted them red, but red, the whole figure's red, so I want something else to actually stand out. So crack to it. That'll not take you 2 seconds. So next step, on the bigger silver areas, I want you to dry brush some Necron compound. This includes the chainmail, because the shade's a bit different, it does give it a different effect. And then on the weapons, on the smaller pieces, just do some highlighting of the silver with your Stormhost silver. It's a big weapon. Give it a dry brush. Even down there as well, if you can fit your dry brush on the back. But for example, that, I'll dry brush that one. So that, get your Stormhost silver. Really thin brush. This one straight from the pot. I'm just gonna just touch of a highlight there. And that's what you just need to do on all your silver pieces. Next up, grey sear. We're going to be kind of over brushing, so get a bit of the grey sear on your brush, dab a bit of it off, and then just kind of drag it across the folds. Right, backwards and forwards if you want. Any bits that are not painted the grey, you can then just with grey sear, you can just kind of touch them. So like down the back, as you can see, there's bits there. You just try and catch them with this grey sear. Try not to get any on the skin flap. And if there's any that you can't get to, just revert to your normal brush and pick them out. You can see there, it's a bit like a dry brush. So do that for your furs. And also painting in your hands and any face. So it's nice and flowing. Now there's actually a glove on this hand, so I'm just going to paint that a little bit in there. The other hand doesn't have a glove on. You'll have to go over it a couple of times. If you do 2 models at a time, so if you paint this bit on one model and paint it on another model, then you can come back to this one. And then on the face, make sure you get a really fine point. In fact, I might use my smaller brushes for that, which I am going to. So any flesh, cover with the grease here, and also, like I say, any cloaks, you just want to do that too. So next, isolating the ones with furs, I'm going to be using Contrast Wildwood. I've got a medium shade brush. I'm not going to put loads and loads and loads on, but I'm just going to put onto the fur and make sure that it covers all of the fur, leaving no stone unturned. Skin tones now, Darko Flesh with a small basing brush. Put some on, but don't. I've been watching some of Duncan's videos, why wouldn't I? And he's done a contrast one that says you shouldn't really overload your brush with the contrast paint. And a bit of a contrast, hey, to what Games Workshop normally state, and I'll be honest, he's probably right. You should just really put it, just make sure that when you're working on an area, you don't move on to the other area, otherwise you get weird tide marks. Because it can dry quite quick. Right, come on then. Crack on. Right, just so you guys know, I have gone ahead a little bit, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever one you want to consider. Black, I've painted the black on, and I've also gone and just done a little bit of edge highlighting with a very thin down dark reaper. I'm not really going to be doing too much to the black, but hopefully you can see that, and that's pretty much all I'm doing to it. As you can see, well, I did the masks and everything else, they've been painted up, but we're going to have a look at the little skulls that's on the model. I've got some Screaming Skull base paint, and mine does need checking out and sorting properly. I've got a fresh little pad, and we're just going to put that onto anything that's like a skull on the equipment, or anything, not just a skull on the equipment, but like if there's a skull on here as an example, I'm going to put it on here. And the sword, just being very careful not to put it into the eyes, just wanting them to be very dark. And then the sword itself has got this running across it again. I'm going to try and avoid the eyes if I can. And I'm not going to actually, well, I might put a little bit of shade gloss on that, but it might thin it down. Or even some surface. Don't forget there's two sides to this, so be very careful. I'm trying to get the other side. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'll get there eventually, guys. It's only been a year. Now, I'm not going to have to go all the way down on that, because effectively it's just the front, but just do that, find any little bits that need doing, do them up, and then hit them with some Agraf Surf Shade. And there we go, all blazed up, all shiny and varnished are my blood packed warriors. Alright, well, thanks very much for watching this one, guys. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button if you got to this point in the video if you want to see more. Next time round is going to be the Psychers. The evil Psychers are going to be painted up next. That should be quite easy. Again, it's going to be an airbrush tutorial, but it shouldn't involve such sticky situations or solutions as that particular ink, because it can get quite sticky on these figures. And of course, I've already based them up to make it look like they're trudging across some form of mud field with water and snow. But thanks very much for watching. We will see you next time.